What's up, Fuego fam? All right, we're gonna unbox and assemble the baseball equator rig today because it's gonna look a little crazy when you get it out of the box. This is essentially what it's gonna look like when it's delivered to you. In the velvet, you have your brushes. Obviously, we've included some ink. And then you have a bunch of little pieces that, again, we're going to make sense of in this video. We also have all of the pieces wrapped up here as well. So let's take a dive into assembling the equator rig. All right, so we have our equator rig components. Again, I'm just going to move the brushes and the ink over to the side because this is just an assembly video. So in your first bag, you're going to have 6 screws that are short, and then you're gonna have 1 longer screw. So you're gonna have basically a 3/4 inch, and then you're gonna have essentially basically a 1 inch screw, 1.5 inch. You're gonna have 6 nuts, and you're gonna have 6 washers. In your next sleeve, or in your next pouch, I should say, you're gonna have 2 sleeves, this sleeve here. And then on the third package, you're gonna have the spring that helps move the arm. Now, into the actual components. Everything's wrapped up. Everything is color-coded too. So, on these, you have the arms that basically hold the ball together. You want them to be the same color. As you can see here, you have a red and a blue. So not only do they differentiate in color, if you look here, they also differentiate in the shape of the head. The red is your 4-seam, the blue is your 2-seam equator orientation. Again, red is to create a 4-seam orientation, blue is to create a 2-seam orientation. You never mix and match blue and red. You always have a red arm, and a red arm, and a blue arm, and a blue arm. So we're gonna take everything out. So there are the blue arms. Here are the red arms. Those are the arms. Now, to actually make the middle of the unit, you have 2 pieces here that go on the outside. This is actually where the arms are gonna go into. I won't do that one yet. This is the piece here that you will eventually be laying and using as your guide for your brush. And then this is the middle piece here where everything gets connected. Now again, I mentioned the 6 screws that were shorter than the 1 long screw and the 6 washers. You have 2 holes on each side here for a screw and 2 holes here for the screw. So we can go ahead and get that screwed in. The one thing that you need to pay attention to though is on the left-hand side. So on your right, if you're watching, if you are sitting where I am sitting on left-hand side, you have the screw go in, you then have the washer, and then you have the nut. You can, if you want to, go and get a wrench and tighten these pretty tight. I would not recommend doing that. I would make sure that it's always hand tightened because you're gonna need to take these on and off, and we'll do another video when you switch out your arms. So again, screw in, have your washer, and then your nut, and then hand twist it in. Again, if you don't want to just have your fingers in there, that's fine. You can get a machine, or I mean a wrench, but I would recommend just using your fingers. On the right-hand side, and this is actually the stable side, you'll find this is the spring side. On the right-hand side, you're gonna stick your screw into the main component. You can even do both at the same time if you want. And then before you put this on, you put your washer on the inside so that the washer is sitting like this in between the base and the right hand, basically arm holder. Again, nuts on, twist away. Now you can come in here with the middle. Nope, whoops. screws in, washers. That's your base, okay? Now, if we're gonna put arms on, I'm gonna take this side off. So I always am moving the left-hand side on and off, okay? Like I mentioned here, this is your, I guess, your stable arm. This is the arm we're gonna put the spring on. I say that because, let's do a forcing orientation first. If you take your two arms, one you will find has a collar on it, almost, and one you'll find does not. Your collar is going to always go on the right-hand side, which is the stable side of your rig. Now, on the left-hand side, this is where all the springs happen. You got to take your sleeves, and you're going to put them into your spring here, okay? Then you have this additional sleeve here. I'm going to put that down because that's hard to do. You're going to have your piece like this, and your coupling like this. It has a little hat almost. Slide it on so that basically the hat top is on the outside. So again, you want, as you put this on, here's your arm, slide this on so that the wider piece is on the outside and not facing towards the head of the arm. Okay, so to come back, you have your arm that will eventually end up looking like this. Okay, that's what it'll look like, but these pieces need to be in here. So, what I would recommend doing, slide this out, go like this, put your spring in, and then basically get this right down into the middle. That is what you will have. So again, sleeves on the inside, spring, and then you have your additional sleeve here. Now, like I mentioned, there's that long screw with this bolt. In this arm, you can see multiple holes. The first hole here is the one you want to line up with this sleeve and stick it through. Where'd you go? You don't have to, but there's a nut here. You can screw this on. What this is doing is this is creating the spring mechanism on this arm. So again, now that we have the spring mechanism on, we'll come back in. I'll line it up. I'll get my screw in, get my washers. All right, that's your rig, basically assembled, okay? Now, the other piece that you'll find in the box is a piece like this, okay? And all this does is if you put this here, it makes sure that you are lined up in the middle on your arms. The other thing that you can do, getting out a fresh pearl here, you can check it with the ball in the rig. Okay, so now, we have the rig assembled. I have my fresh pearl. What you want to do is, again, you're orienting a 4-seam equator. So you know how that will be, especially if this is how the paint's going to be. So what you'll find is this part of the ball, you want to align on the inside of this particular arm, and you want to do the same on the other side of the ball. And what you want to do is you want to maneuver the ball just a little bit so that you can feel the seams going up against the arm. So again, you want it oriented right along the stitching. So that arm is holding right along the stitching. And what's cool, guys, is if you move it, you'll feel it. Like, you can kind of do this blind. You'll feel where it's smooth and where it's lined up. And again, you got to find that sweet spot. One recommendation, and I've marked probably a couple hundred of these balls now, don't go off the logos, okay? Because because these are stamped on. So you're gonna think like, oh man, my line looks a little bit off. It's the stamp that's a little bit off because they're just going quick and they're quickly stamping these. So again, if you even see on this Rawlings here, it's a little bit off if you're gonna actually do the line on this ball. So keep that in mind, yep. So, that's the marking in and out. And like I mentioned here with this tool, you can also make sure that you are, again, right in the middle, everything is lined up as it should be.